Yes, we can start.
Okay. So this will just be a brief overview of the entire admission process for the direct PhD program and an application for the PMRF scholarship. So feel free to stop me at any time you have any query. So initially, just brief bio about me. I did my bachelor's in aerospace engineering from Alliance University, Bangalore. After that, I worked as a software engineer at Sankhya Systems and Objects. There, we developed software for ISRO and Bell. What we did was they had a weather radar. We took the data from the radar, processed it, and developed several products for visualization of the data. After this, I worked as a graduate apprentice at VSSC for about 2 months. There, what my work involved the aerodynamic analysis of the crew escape system of Gaganyaan. During my apprentice program at VSSC, I applied for master's and for PhD programs at various IITs. And I got shortlisted for the interview, for the written test and interview at IIT Kanpur. So I quit the apprentice program and joined as a PhD scholar at IIT Kanpur, and I chose flight mechanics and control as my specialization. After this, during the course of my PhD program, I applied for the PMRF research scholarship, and I received it a few months ago, I think just last month. So this is just a brief overview of the admission process for direct PhD. First and foremost is obviously the gate, and I owe all of the entire PhD process to Dinesh sir and entire team at IGC. And I want to tell you that I still use the notes that I made at IGC. Even during the PhD program, I'm still using it. So GATE, a good rank and good score in GATE is first and foremost. Post that, to apply for the direct PhD program or any research program, you need a good SOP. So I will be telling the points about SOP towards the end of the slides. So we'll just skip that for now. Then is the letter of recommendation. Letter of recommendation I got from my place of work, and I got one from my BTech college. So letter of recommendations are very important. They ask for a minimum of 2. So make sure you submit as many as you can. I've submitted 2, and make sure you take it from someone who is willing to support you and willing to receive calls when they call. Next is a written test. That is not there in every IIT. It's there for IIT Kanpur and I think IIT Madras as well. So written test for people from aerospace background it consists of 2 parts. First paper would be on mathematics, which will mostly be linear algebra and a little bit of ODE. The second paper would be all of the core subjects of aerospace. So we had a couple of questions from flight mechanics, mostly from structures, and a few from propulsion. So during the written test, I used all of the notes from IGC, and I remember I solved every one of the structures questions. I remember everything Dinesh sir taught me. I'm extremely grateful. Post the written test, you are shortlisted for an interview, and the interview would consist of 3 to 4 panel members from the specialization that you've chosen. So I had chosen flight mechanics and control, and there were 4 faculty members from the same specialization. And they mostly concentrate on the BTech project. So they ask you thoroughly about the BTech project, make sure you're really thorough with what you did during your BTech project. And then since I had a work experience, they also asked a few questions regarding that, but it was mainly the basics of the BTech project. Then post the admission for direct PhD, this just to let you know what you're in store for. So initially, if you are a direct PhD student, you have to do double the number of courses as a master student or a regular PhD student. So here at IIT Kanpur, the coursework requirement for a master student is 4, and for a direct PhD student is 8. So once you're done with the first semester, I think even it was during the first semester where you are allowed to interact with guides. So this is the most crucial step in your PhD journey. You interact with all of them, make sure your research interests collide. They are very free in IIT Kanpur, and the focus is on the students here. So at various other institutes, like I think IIT Madras, you are not given the choice of guide. You are allotted a guide depending on your research interests. Here at IIT Kanpur, you are allowed to pick your guide depending on your research interests, and you're even allowed to approach guides from other departments, not just as guide, but even as a co-guide. So this is a very crucial step in your PhD program. Post the selection of guide, then you sit with him and discuss your research statement. before applying for any scholarship or any such further step in your PhD, the establishment of the research statement, the objectives, is very important. So you need to have a clear understanding of what you will do. You don't need to have this before you join your PhD program. You just need to have a research area. But after that, try working towards it, read a lot of literature, and you finalize your research statement. Post this, the next 4 steps are the general steps in every PhD program. The comprehensive exam would be a test of all the courses that you have done. So the faculty members of the respective courses would sit and you would just have to present the coursework details. Then it's the state of art seminar where you tell the faculty and other members of your department what you choose to do your research in, what is the current status in the world and in the country in that research area, and you present to them what you intend to do for your research. It would also be beneficial if you show some initial preliminary results. Then towards the end of your PhD program is the open seminar. Open seminar would be before you present your thesis, you present all of your results to a faculty who will then suggest various things that you can incorporate before you do your before you write your thesis or before you have your thesis defense. After all this, after you've written, after you've incorporated the changes suggested by the faculty members, by the reviewers, you have your final thesis defense. After this, you submit your thesis, and this is the entire journey of the PhD process. So this is my research area. I have taken flight mechanics and control. In that, my research area is the rendezvous and docking between 2 spacecrafts. So the applications of this area are far and varied. On-orbit servicing is where you have one satellite servicing another satellite. So you need to have no relative motion or no relative angle between the 2 satellites. Next would be space system assembly, where several systems of a main spacecraft would be assembled separately. This would reduce the overall cost of the mission because you're launching small pieces of the entire mission. Then would be the human space flight. So when we transfer human personnel onto any space station, onto the ISS or any other space station, you have a rendezvous happening. Rendezvous is basically the lack of any positional or attitude or any orientation difference between 2 satellites. So to transfer human personnel from one spacecraft to another spacecraft, you need to achieve rendezvous and dock. Then space exploration. Space exploration, you tend to have large vehicles, large spacecrafts that cannot really land in different planets or different asteroids as you wish. So you need to have a small module detached from your main spacecraft and then travel further. And this small module needs to reattach with your mother spacecraft. Again, you have applications of rendezvous and docking. Then formation flying. This is a relatively new area that is catching up, where we have multiple spacecrafts flying together to achieve one particular objective. An example would be a system of GPS satellites. GPS satellites, as of now, they have no interaction between them. They fly independently. But we could think of a satellite system, a GPS satellite system, where they are independent. They are independent of any control center on Earth. They just interact amongst themselves and have a formation flying. This is similar to the swarm technology in unmanned aerial vehicles that we see in, at least in various sci-fi movies. Then would be space debris mitigation. As we know that space debris is a huge concern in space. When we launch any vehicle, we spend much of our preliminary analysis to find a trajectory that avoids all of the space debris. So mitigating the space debris, removing the space debris would be a huge area. It is a huge area of importance right now, and that is where most of the research is focused. The problem with space debris mitigation would be all of these other applications have the 2 spacecrafts interacting with each other, but space debris would be an uncooperative target. So this is just the statement of my research paper, a tentative statement of my research thesis. So that is all you are intended to present in your PMRF review. And these are the points that we mentioned over here, just some of the objectives that I intend to follow to achieve the research. So I'm not going into the details about that. Next, I will tell you about what PMRF is. PMRF is basically Prime Minister's Research Fellowship. So when you enter as a direct PhD student or a PhD student at any of these PMRF granting institutes, you are given a stipend. You are given a scholarship to study. Over and above this, if you showcase exceptional research acumen, you are given you're given an opportunity to apply for a scholarship called PMRF. So the remuneration of this scholarship would be, it would be 5 years, for a duration of 5 years. They expect you to complete your PhD in 5 years. Post that, you would have your regular institute scholarship, or you would have to apply for an academic extension. So for 5 years, you would be, if you do get the PMRF fellowship, you would get 70,000 per month for the first 2 years, 75,000 per month for the third year, and 80,000 per month for the last 2 years. Over and above this, you get 2 lakhs per year as a research grant or a contingency for you to buy any equipments that you would need for your research, that is a laptop or anything, any such thing. It would also fund all of your conferences that you intend to present your papers in, or you intend to just attend. So this 2 lakhs you will receive per year above your per month stipend. This is what you get when you get the PMRF scholarship. So now I'll tell you what is expected of you. When you receive the scholarship, they give you a list of deliverables, which you're expected to do every year. First and foremost is to satisfy the objectives that you have mentioned in your research proposal. Then you have an annual review. So I have received the PMRF scholarship in the December 2021 cycle. So my first annual review would be the coming December. So every December, for the next 4 to 5 years, you will have an annual review where they judge if you have achieved your objectives. If you haven't, you do stand a chance to lose the scholarship. And I do know a few cases of that. The other requirement is you're required to teach once a week in a neighborhood ITI, Polytechnic, or any engineering college. Places such as Kanpur do not have many such facilities. So another option that they provide you is to pick a topic of your interest, come up with a lesson plan, and record online video recordings of 24 hours, 24-hour worth video on the topic of your preference. So you're supposed to upload this per year. So teach once a week would roughly approximate to about 24 hours of lectures. So there are two methods to apply for the PMRF. One is the direct entry, the other one is the lateral entry. Direct entry is where you receive the PMRF scholarship before you enroll for a PhD program. So the eligibility for that is, there are 3 ways to apply for this. The first one is if you have completed, or if you are in the final year of your master's or bachelor's at any of those PMRF granting institutes, that is IISc, IITs, NITs, any of those. More than 8. This is the first way you can apply direct entry for the PMRF. The next thing is similar to the first one, but if you're from an institute that is not a PMRF granting institute, you need to have same CPI greater than 8, plus you need to have appeared for GATE and have a score of more than 650. The third option is if you've qualified GATE and you're pursuing a master's, MTech or MSR at one of the PMRF granting institutes and have a CPI greater than 8, provided you've done 4 courses. After you apply, and if you do receive the PMRF scholarship, you receive it only if you apply and get selected for a PhD program. So this is the process for direct entry. And the requirements for direct entry are, you need to have obviously a resume, an SOP, publications carry huge weightage, competitions such as Olympiads, National Science Olympiad, whatever you've attempted in your school life or during your college, all of that count to this point. And grade sheets basically to verify that you have a CPI of 8 or above. Letter of recommendation. Letter of recommendation is of most importance here. They ask you for 1, preferably 2 more. The preferably 2 more is very, very important. Do not ignore it. You have to submit 3. It's very important. And here the SOP I will be talking about a little later. So these are the important requirements for direct entry. So your resume, SOP, publications, competitions, grade sheets, and letter of recommendations. The next mode of entry is the lateral entry. This is the entry that I availed and I got. So the process for applying this is, once you have enrolled for a PhD program in one of the PMRF granting institutes, you have to submit a research proposal and apply for this. So the eligibility is, if you are applying for the PMRF, if you are in the PhD program after your master's, you have at most 12 months. And if you're applying for PhD after bachelor's like I have, you have at most 24 months. So I applied for this in my towards the end of my second semester. So that was a little less than 18 months. And it's required to have 8.5 or greater CPI. And this was the deciding factor between me and several of other applicants. I was fortunate to have a CPI of 10 after appearing for 7 courses during my PhD in the first 2 semesters. So this is a very important criteria. The list of requirements for lateral entry, similar to the direct entry, a few extra items. Resume. In place of the SOP, you have a research proposal of approximately 4 pages. I will be touching upon the important points of research proposal in the next slide. Publications. Publications are really important. I was specifically asked and told about the weightage of publications. Unfortunately, I did not have any publications during my application. I had written a paper that was not yet submitted, but I had submitted the manuscript of that paper. I am hoping that that was considered during the application. So as far as possible, as soon as possible, try to publish at least 1 paper before you apply for PMRF. It carries a huge weightage. Then again, competition similar to the direct entry, the Olympiads, any programming contests, preferably international contests, they have a huge weightage for that as well. Grade sheets, and since it's a lateral entry, you need to have done a minimum of 4 courses during your PhD, and these grade sheets need to show that your CPI is more than 8.5. Here again, it says 3 letter of recommendations, 1 mandatory from your guide and +2. Like I said before, this is of utmost importance. There was another candidate with similar credentials as mine, but he had only submitted 1 letter of recommendation. I had submitted 3. And these were again from my work experience and from my college. So make sure you submit 3 letters of recommendation when you apply for the PMRF. Then since you're applying from a college, your college will be the one that is recommending you at the initial stage. So they require a presentation of 10 slides or 10 minutes, a brief presentation of research proposal, which is what enables them to shortlist you for the main process. So the SOP and research proposal. SOP is for the direct entry and research proposal is for lateral entry. I had to submit the research proposal. I just spoke to a few of the people who have appeared for direct entry to see what they have written in the SOP. So what you do is you introduce yourself, give your academic background. Academic background would be your degree and any publications that you've had, any conferences that you've attended, any kind of credentials to show that you have a research interest. In the SOP, all that they look for is that you have a motivation or you have an inclination to do research and that you will complete the research that you propose. Next, you put in some relevant skills, which would come in if you put your publications or your work experience. So relevant skills, relevant to the research interest that you have indicated in your SOP, and motivation to pursue research. This is the most important point in the SOP. Why you're applying for the PMRF scholarship, why are you applying for PhD? You need to justify what you have done. So this is SOP, and research proposal is after. That's for the lateral entry, where you have already started doing your research and then you're applying for the scholarship. So they expect you to have a proper research proposal. So the research proposal, they have given some sort of a template. These are some of the headings from the template. Abstract would be a crisp summary of your research proposal, what it is, what you intend to do. Origin of the problem would be what is the current status of the research in the world and the country? What are the shortcomings of the research that is happening in the world and how you intend to fix it? That would be the origin. That is how you would have come up with your research statement. Then you present from where you came up with. So that's the literature review. You would have read about 10, 20 papers to come up with your research statement. So put in those papers there, put in the shortcomings in the literature survey that you have done. That is what is expected in the literature review. Current status, this is not really mandatory, but it is a plus point. Current status would be if you have any preliminary results, if you have done anything other than literature review towards your research, you need to put in there. So I had put in a few of the graphs, few of the results of my control algorithms in the current status. Significance is how this research would benefit the masses. Like I had mentioned the significance, the applications of rendezvous and docking initially, that would come in significance, how it would help the people, how it would help the nation or the world as such. And then objectives would be just points, 3 or 4 points, like I have mentioned in my research list, 3 or 4 points that briefly summarize what your research is, what you intend to do. And technical details, expected outcomes, they pretty much overlap each other. So technical details is you put in exactly how you intend to achieve the research. They don't expect a perfect, correct approach, how you intend to achieve the results. So for my problem, it was rendezvous and docking. So I told them that I would model the relative translational and orientation dynamics. Then I would apply various controls. I mentioned a few of the control algorithms that I had tried out and few that I intend to apply. And then I told them that I would incorporate uncooperative targets, so that debris comes into the picture. So these are the points that I had included in technical details. Expected outcomes is just a timeline of what you plan to do when. So this is from where they would ask for your review. So if you tell them that within the stipulated period of time you will plan to incorporate certain part of your research, they will ask you this during your review. This is a summary of the research proposal. Based on the research proposal is your entire PMRF application depends on your research proposal. So you should dedicate all of your time towards the research proposal. That's it. Thank you. If anybody has any questions, you can ask.
Yeah, thank you, Tanya. Thank you
Thank you,
for
sir.
giving wonderful informations.
Thank you, sir.
You have covered everything very well. So,
Thank you,
guys,
sir.
now doc is open for questioners. So, those who have questions, they can type. Yeah. So, can you read chat,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Tanya?
Yes, sir. I can
Yeah.
read. Do we have to study all the subjects for MTech research, PhD written test? So they give you options. So first paper is maths. In that, everything is compulsory. Like I said, it's basically focused on linear algebra and a little bit of ODE. The second paper for people from aerospace background would involve questions from all the main topics that you prepare for GATE. But you have an option. So I had appeared only for flight mechanics and structures. So I think there are about 8 questions and you have to attempt only 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah. So, any other question, guys? Vishwas, do you have any question? Because you also want to pursue, yeah. Is it MCQ or long answer
It's
type of
exactly
question?
like GATE. It's MCQ.
Oh, okay.
So if you prepare for GATE, it should be more than enough.
Okay. Yeah. Anyone else has any question? I think. Yeah, Vishwas, do you have any specific question regarding research or the future aspect of research in India? Do you have IIT Kanpur in your list, Vishwas? Yeah, yes. In your wish list, where you want to go? Yeah. So, Vishwas, do you have any specific question? Who all are applying IIT Kanpur MS Research or PhD? Shivam, did you apply? Anirudh, you have applied, right? So I think this will help you. Others? Anyone else has applied? Yes, Shivam, you have applied. Divya, Shreya, anyone have interest in research work? Okay. So I think Tanya, you
Yes,
have
sir.
given very good information, and I think these will be helpful to these guys. Any specific things you want to share before winding? Yeah. So can you answer this? Is IIT Kanpur doing research on power descent?
I'm not sure about that, so I will check and I will let them know. What is it?
Okay,
I will check them.
no issue.
Sir.
Yeah, this power descent means it's like flight mechanics part, right?
Flight mechanics, yes, sir.
Or
I'm
it is
mostly focused
related
on
to
spacecraft.
propulsion? Okay, all right. Yes. So Vishwas, he will answer. You can share with me. I'll pass this information to you. Anybody else? Okay. Yeah. So I think fine then, Tanya. Thank you. Thank you for coming and
Thank you, sir.
joining IGC
Thank you, sir.
post-gate
And,
sessions. And
experience at
yeah,
IGC
thank
has
you.
helped me immensely, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Of course, you and your good friend Akshay is also doing good and
Yes,
he's
sir.
also supporting very well
Yes, sir.
IGC.
Yes,
In
sir.
fact, he teaches some subject now. That's
Oh, that's
really great,
wonderful, sir.
and I really enjoyed the time. Yeah, when you guys used to come for offline classes, it was the altogether different
Yes, sir. It was a
experience.
very
And
good
now
experience.
we have a good experience of online as well because we kept as much as things interactive and IGC students as well very supportive always. So I really enjoy doing this.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I would like to
Yeah.
add that you
All
have
right.
given
Thank you.
personal attention during the classes, and that has immensely helped, sir.
Yes. Yes. Of course, that's our, key USP. We
Yes.
individually focus on everyone and we try to find out who is good in what and how we can improve. Like you were
Yes,
good
sir.
in aptitude, I still remember. And
Yes,
I
sir.
used to tell you, work out on your core. And I'm finally very happy you are doing, great and got PM scholars. It means, of course, your project will be definitely
Thank
scrutinized
you,
by
sir.
many people, right?
Yes,
And at
yes, sir.
least, yeah, champ. So thank you. Yeah. All right, then thank you to making, IGC proud and yourself and your family and friends and your college too. So thank you. Thank you all.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right, then be in touch. Definitely
Definitely, sir.
further we will have some more sessions on and once you progress on your work. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Bye. Bye, guys.
Bye.